Ingrid. Thanks for coming on for your afternoon or your nighttime, my morning.
Yeah, it's evening. It's around 5 p.m. here. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, pleasure. I've been super excited to ask you so many questions, hearing more and more and more about you and your amazing smoothies, which got it all started, but then more and more. So I'm super excited to dive into all these questions with you today.
Yeah, I can't wait. Let's get on it.
So you have an incredible history, and in relation to healing, as well as being a mum. So give me a little bit of a start up to where this sort of journey started for you, where you've ended up now.
Well, it was definitely a long journey. I could tell you right now, if you would have talked to me 6 years ago, I had no idea what the other side of I mean, I was that typical girl that I grew up with boys in my house, and I would eat like my brother. I would go to fast food maybe 3 times a week, and I didn't know how to cook at all. And so I grew up with a Mexican background. I'm Mexican.
Yeah.
And so Mexican food is delicious, but it's very unhealthy. Everything's fried. And so a lot of the things that I learned, I had to basically unlearn. I had to unlearn a lot of things. But it got to the point that I think it was around the time I turned 29, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And I also had a heterotopic pregnancy. So for those of you that don't know what a heterotopic pregnancy is, it's basically 2 simultaneous pregnancies with separate implantation sites. So I had my baby was in the uterus, and the other one was in got stuck in the fallopian tube. So that had to be removed. While I was pregnant, I had to go through surgery.
Oh my goodness.
And then after that, I was diagnosed with appendicitis, and then I had my son, and I was hit pretty hard with postpartum depression. So I was basically your Humpty Dumpty. Everything was broken, and I was only 29, and I felt like I was 85 years old. Like I would ask myself, like, how old are you? And I remember thinking, like, you feel like you're 85. Like I couldn't walk for more than 5 minutes because I would feel tired. I was gaining so much weight. And this was my schedule. I would wake up around 9 or 10 just because I had to feed my son. And then by around noon, that's it. That was the end of my day. I had to go to sleep, and I slept the entire day onto the next day. So my whole days, I remember just everything was groggy. Like I walked around like it felt like I was drunk. And it's, if you've never experienced, or if you know someone that if you don't know anyone that has Crohn's, it basically feels, everything I eat feels like you're eating a Brillo pad, and it's going through your intestines, and it just hurts. And you naturally become antisocial, because it's like, why go to a party if you already know that you're going to be bloated and hurting? Why go meet with people? Because it's just the pain. The pains are just, you can't hold a conversation with people. And so I became very, very antisocial. Naturally, I had a lot of depression. And one thing that people don't talk about is that, as your body is accumulating toxins, you're also accumulating the worst thoughts in your brain. And you start to become very, very negative and very, it became very dark. And so every thought in my head was like, what's the point of living? Why am I here if I'm in pain? And I think people would be happier if I wasn't here. That's what I was thinking every single day.
My goodness.
So I decided to search for the best gastrointestinal doctor. And I thought, okay, this person, I don't care how much money I'm going to spend, but this person is supposed to be the best. I'm going to make an appointment. So it took me about 6 months to get an appointment with this person. I walked into the best clinic. I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is it. Like, she's going to fix everything. And my first meeting with this person was about 5 minutes. She looks at me. She looks at my paperwork. Oh, yeah, you have Crohn's. There's nothing you could do about it. It's genetics. So what I'm going to give you is this prescription for steroids. And you're going to take this for the rest of your life. And at that point, I looked at her and I said, are you sure it has nothing to do with what I'm eating? Because I had prepared myself for this meeting. I had made a list of everything that I was eating throughout the day and everything that I was doing. And she looks at me, she says, no, it has nothing to do with food. It has to do with your genes. And so she gave me a prescription. And I remember going to the pharmacy, and I realized that my insurance was not going to cover this prescription. And so it was about $1,000 a month that I had to, out of pocket, that I had to spend for this medication. And I could not afford it. There's no way I could afford $1,000 a month for a medication that I was supposed to have for the rest of my life. Mm. So, but I took it. I was on that medication for a few months, and it did clear some of the bloating and some of the, not to be too much information, TMI, but I mean,
go for it.
Yeah, when you have Crohn's, one of the symptoms that I was ashamed of, because I didn't want to tell anyone, I was very embarrassed, but one of the symptoms is bloody stools. Mm. And so, by the time I got to this doctor, it had been maybe a year that I hadn't even told my husband at that time, because I was so embarrassed.
Oh my goodness.
I hadn't told anyone. But it got so bad that I finally spoke up and I said, hey, listen, I have bloody stools. I've been having bloody stools for the past year, and this is what's wrong with me. This was no way to live. I told myself, like, it did clear some of the symptoms, but it made my depression even worse. It made other symptoms. I was itchy. I got eczema from that. It was just bad. So I told myself, it was the beginning of the year. And I know it sounds so cliche because I never done New Year's resolutions. But my New Year's resolution was, Ingrid, if you don't do anything about your health, there's no point for you to live. Like, you can't live like this. And I remember telling myself, the only thing I want, I didn't want to lose weight. I didn't care about that. I didn't want to look pretty. I didn't care about that. I just wanted to have enough energy so I could be a mom and play with my son. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
So the beginning of the year, I said, okay, well, let's research what is dieting, what's healthy out there. And for anyone out there that has Googled this before, what is a perfect diet, you're gonna be overwhelmed with a lot of information. I put a lot of this information in the back burner because it was so overwhelming. And, so around that time I was like, okay, well, I have to dig through all the information and find what is gonna work for me. And I remember telling myself, like, wow, like, am I gonna eat lettuce and tomatoes and boiled chicken like these Instagram girls? Like, what? It sounds boring. So, so I hired a personal trainer. I said, okay, well, somebody has to come to my house and literally get me out of bed. That's the first thing I have to do. So I hired this personal trainer. Would come to my house 3 times a week. And then I said, okay, well, if I'm spending money on this trainer, I might as well, like, really wake up with dieting. So that's when I went into the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what's wrong with me and the best way to eat. And early on, I learned that there was not going to be a guru. There was not going to be a doctor. There wasn't going to be anybody else that was going to get me out of this hole. It was myself. I had to get myself out, because a lot of people think that, oh, this guru knows everything. This person's going to help you. And no, the person that's going to help you is you. And so that was the hard reality.
My goodness.
And yeah, so that's where everything started. My love for health. dependent on my life.
Yeah, that's incredible. And to have that realization, I know it doesn't seem like it, but at 29, I think it's a blessing, isn't it, that you've come to that point in a way that now you can completely, and you have turned your life around, and for your son as well, and to be present there. And when there's health that's missing from your life, it's the only thing that you want back. And it's I see it on a daily basis, people just wanting to be able to have some more energy in the day. And I think that motivation to be playing with your son or your family, or being that best person for them to then look up to as well, I think that's an amazing pusher, I guess, in the right direction. It's an incredible story.
That's one of the main things people have had to find. It's if you don't have children, find that motivation, find that thing, that mission in your life. That's very important. For those of you that don't know what Crohn's disease is, basically an inflammatory bowel disease. It causes inflammation and scarring in the lining of both the small and the large intestines. So, and this is it. There was a series of events that got me into Crohn's disease. I didn't wake up with Crohn's disease. It was over time, a series of events that gave me Crohn's disease. And there's only gonna be a series of events that's gonna get me out of Crohn's disease. There's no magic pill.
No, there's no magic pill for anything, is there?
No, there's a series of things that got me there, and there's a series of things that got me out of there. And so, because the body is always giving you the cues, and it's always asking you for help. And for me, now that I look back, the first cues was my energy declining. And then it was bloating here and there. And there was problems sleeping. Those are the common symptoms probably for every chronic disease out there. Low energy loss and problems sleeping. That's when you start. If you're 29 years old and you're having issues with that, you're heading into a bad direction.
Absolutely. So did you have any inkling before you actually got diagnosed? Did you think there was something seriously wrong as that going on? Or was it just something that you just went, you know what, no, that wouldn't happen to me?
No, like I said, a whole year of symptoms, and I had already looked it up, and I had the idea. I went I think everybody goes to WebMD and they give you
Google Doc, yeah.
Yes, I had a list of 10 things that were possibly wrong with me, and one of them was Crohn's, and the other one was cancer. That's the first question I asked the doctor. Are you sure I don't have cancer in the colon?
Yeah.
And just here's the thing. We blame, the cues that the body tells you, we blame them on everyday stress, or we blame them on work. Oh, I can't sleep because work, or I can't sleep because, we put excuses and we drag the symptoms around like an extra heavy baggage in an airport, right?
Yeah,
not knowing what terminal to take, and not knowing what our final destination is. That's pretty much how I felt.
And with the medical system, and I wanted to actually talk to you about this because it's very different to here in Australia and to the US. And I do talk to a lot of colleagues and friends over in the US about this. It's very expensive to become sick in the US. And, the insurances and the medical costs. In Australia, we are relatively lucky, I think, in a way, and not in a way. I think it actually is a blessing over in the US, where you guys have better options, or maybe you're pushed because of financial reasons to find other options. And whereas in Australia here, we have everything. Well, we can get surgeries for free. We can get medications for free. So it can be easy to get stuck on the bandwagon as such, to go, well, we'll just stay with this. This is easy. This doesn't cost me anything anyway. So this is my magic pill, and I don't need to find any other reasons. Yeah. But with you, for example, I think even that $1,000 a month hit really gave you that motivation, I would say, to find something else. Like, you can't live like that and have that, and that was no other option for you.
There was no other option. And but the thing about pharmaceuticals is that they always have a side effect.
Oh, absolutely.
And so yeah, they fix one thing, but they make other things worse. So you're always going to be in this system. And then what a lot of people do is, okay, well, there's the side effects for that. Let me take some medications for those side effects. And then you start chasing symptoms, right?
Absolutely.
Without getting
symptom after symptom, medication after medication.
So what got me to there? That's what people need to wake up and figure out, because no one's going to figure it out for you. You're the only one that's going to figure out for yourself. What got you there? What happened? And most people know what got them there. And it's just a matter of, do I want to look back and change all these things and change my life? And most people feel comfortable the way they're living, but it's really uncomfortable to make a lot of changes. I had to make so many changes. But in the end, yes, it is it is expensive to get sick here in the US. And that's why I tell people, well, I know that you buying grass fed and buying all organic is expensive, but trust me, when you get sick, that's nothing compared to the medical bill that you're going to get.
Absolutely. And even here, it's so much more expensive in so many different ways, not just financial, to be sick. And the road back to wellness can be long, and it can teach you a lot at the same time, which I think is a blessing. But it's so many more things than just a financial burden.
So one of the first things that I started doing was, okay, so obviously Western medicine is not helping and pharmaceuticals are not helping. They're just making things worse. So let me check out what Eastern medicine has been doing for the past, thousands of years. And I someone gave me a book about Chinese medicine, and I absolutely fell in love with it just makes, it's just common sense, really. Yeah. It is common sense.
And thousands and thousands of years. Like, how can you go wrong over that many years? It's been proven.
Yes, and a lot of the pharmaceuticals are trying to mimic what these natural plants do. The reason why, they're not making money out of this turmeric or all these other natural ingredients is because there's no money to be made there. You can't put you can't own turmeric. So it's better to mimic it and make it synthetically. And so one of the things I looked at, I after reading this book, I started reading Ayurveda medicine, and then I started reading Aztec medicine, and I was like, wow, there is a parallel in these three ways of thinking and these ways of this knowledge. And so I started digging into natural plants, and once I started to dig into natural plants, I basically fell in love with the synergy between plants. So when you start combining plants based on their enzymes and how you could boost each other's properties, to me, that was gold. I was like, wait a minute, are you telling me that maca, this root in maca, which is a root from Peru, if I mix this maca with chaga, which is a mushroom, a Chinese mushroom, if I mix these two, you're telling me that there's an enzyme in maca that will boost the properties of chaga and they will boost each other. And magic. So it was magic. To me, it was like a Jenga puzzle. And so I started making myself, I wanted something nutrient dense that I could take in the mornings. And I'm not really good at taking supplements. I forget. Mm-hmm. At one point, I had a whole list of supplements that I was taking. I was taking over, I don't know how many, like 30 different supplements. And I had a schedule for the supplements. Okay, at 10 a.m., I'm going to take turmeric. At 2 p.m., I'm going to take tyrosine. At this time, I'm going to take this. It became really complicated. And I told myself, well, why don't I just make it into my daily breakfast routine? And also pre-digested food. Basically, if I put it in the blender, it will help my body get more energy, and it doesn't have to digest it. All this, I could help my body digest the food. And so I started looking at my ailments. Okay, what's wrong with me? Great, I have inflammation. What are the things that I know that, or the herbs that are known to fight inflammation? Great, I had a list of 10 things. Let's make that into a smoothie. And okay, I have gray hair because I have so much gray hair. So what are the things that are causing my hair to turn gray? Oh, wow, I'm missing copper. I'm missing this. I'm missing that. But these things are found in natural foods. Great. Let's make a list and then make that into a smoothie. So I had, I don't know, maybe like 20 different smoothies for different things that were wrong with me. And I started taking them. And every day that was my breakfast for the day. And for breakfast and lunch, I was eating just, whole foods. And within a month, at this time, I stopped taking the steroids. I wasn't taking any medications whatsoever.
Did you just go cold turkey straight off?
Yeah. I'm gonna stop these medications. They're not taking me anywhere.
Yeah.
And so within a month, my energy picked up, and I lost all my weight, and I had the energy and the motivation to continue. I was like, wait a minute, this is working. Like this is making a huge difference in my life. And so I just went into that. I went into the rabbit hole of studying more and more and more. I want to know more about like the active ingredients in each of these superfoods. And I want to know how they work. I want to know what they do in the brain. And I want to know how they interact with the different organs. I want to know what happens. And so I started studying the superfoods and so after I say a month and a half, I started to go to people's houses. And look, I've always been the person that I suck at making money. I don't know how to make money. I'm always the person that likes to give away stuff. And I can relate. Right? When I was 20, I started a swimsuit company. And I hired this guy that was making all the swimsuits. And the company I had to close it because the inventory went to my friends, went to my family.
Oh,
I said, I love your swimsuits. Oh, here, take one.
Here, have some.
Help yourself.
I can so relate. I'm more of a giver than a taker.
I've always been like that. And so with the smoothies, I said, okay, I gotta go to people's houses. I gotta just spread the word and tell people like, well, this is gonna help you. So I started to ask my friends and my family around Malibu, like, okay, what's wrong with you? What's your ailments? Oh, I don't have energy. I don't have this. This is wrong with me. Great. I'm coming to your house and I'm making you a 30-day smoothie supply based on your ailments. And I was going to people. I think I went to, within a month, I had like maybe 40 people that had visited.
Oh, wow. You're amazing. Being unwell and then just spreading the love as quickly as you could.
Here you go. 30 days of smoothies for you. What you want? And so it started to pick up in Melbourne. And I was I was happy not making money. I wanted to make people happy. And I came across one of my friends, one of the people that I went to help. He happened to be a venture capitalist, and he said, have you ever, made this or thought about making it into a business? I have no idea how to do that. It's like, why don't you partner up with my daughter? She's a genius marketer, but she has you guys could help each other out. And so that's how Tusol was born.
Tusol is a beautiful brand, and it looks stunning, as well as it suits you to a T. I think it's just as well. It's just very much you comes out in the branding as well.
Here's a box. If you guys have never heard of Tusol, so it comes in a little box, And then
Gorgeous.
you have the 5 smoothies. So there's 5 different functions because I realized that there's 5 things that are making people premature age. And the 5 things are, you got oxidative stress.
Yeah.
Then you have the gut imbalance.
Wow.
And then you have cognitive decline, which is this one. This one's the banana chaga, and it has medicinal mushrooms in here. And then you got the energize for neurotransmitters. It's more for mood. It's for dopamine.
Yeah.
And then you have this one, which is the anti-inflammation one. So inflammation is another cause for premature aging. So this one's the turmeric, curcumin, and ginger. And so these are, I always tell people, take them together. It's like one for every day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to Friday. And they work together. They're meant to work together.
That's amazing. Yeah, I would, I'd love to get them over here because there's nothing really, we have some product, like a friend of mine has a super health company here and he blends up, so I've got one here on my shelf. So super, Revive. So, it's kind of like they're throwing in all the medicinal mushrooms. They got kakadu plum, which is some of the Australian, high vitamin C, antioxidants, as well as black pepper and chlorella and things like that. But I love the way that you've separated all of those out into an easy follow-on daily habit, I guess. And so I hear they taste amazing, whereas this, it's really, really good, but it tastes very green. And I love the branding too.
So thank you. So
yeah.
One of the things I learned early on is that we're just eating the same thing over and over. And if you think about your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, it's just basically the same thing.
Absolutely.
You walk into the supermarket and you get the same thing. You get it's just different species, but I mean, broccoli is the same species as cauliflower, and you're basically eating the same species. But we're meant to be we need to diverse our food because that's the only way we could get our gut bacteria to flourish, to be more diverse. So they depend on diversity and food diversity, and we don't have that today. I mean, we're just so
processed, so dehydrating, and just, let alone the oils and, all of that advanced glycation products that are just aging us, like you say, and causing all of that inflammation. And much like in America and Australia, we have the SAD diet, we have the standard Australian diet and the standard American diet, and where we're following quite quickly on the horrible eating patterns that we have habits of, that we just go to quite quickly. And no wonder we have high rates of depression, obesity, diabetes, all these metabolic inflammatory conditions that could be prevented by more diversity in fresh food, let alone organic. There's so many aspects to where we could be improving our diets, but we just fall into a trap. And that's where easy things like the daily smoothie is a good way out to change slowly that diversity, as well as, wanting your bacteria to actually want something different. Because it's amazing. I find this is the most fascinating thing about our bacteria, can actually make us want what we want.
And we had no idea about gut bacteria. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we had no idea about that. And we had no idea that it's keeping us alive. Get rid of all the bacteria, see what happens.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, we die. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so the importance of diversifying your gut bacteria, because they synthesize a lot of your vitamins, a lot of hormones, a lot of things. They make your cholesterol. It's basically, your immune system. So that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to diversify, have biodiversity for the gut bacteria, and get out of the habits. And I know that people love convenience, and that's why we go to the store and we just buy something that is just fast to make, because nobody wants to be in the kitchen for 45 minutes for, cooking your breakfast, cooking your lunch, and cooking your dinner. Right now,
not until you have the passion for it, right?
Yeah. And so we live in a society where it's just go, 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 rush, rush, no time for anything. And so I understand that part. And that's why, that's why I made them for myself. I had jars and jars. So it's like, cool, I don't have to think about my breakfast. I could just grab a jar and just dump it in the blender. And I know that, and all my supplements are in there. So I know that I'm going to get a nutritious breakfast, nutrient more than my lunch or my dinner, probably.
Absolutely. So then what happened from there is that, you had that first initial month and you felt obviously really good and then wanted to spread the word. How quickly did you feel, well, I guess not back to normal, because you've probably never had that aspect of nutrition. You said that growing up, that your diet wasn't ideal. So you must have had this amazing, complete new lease on life and feeling of clarity and all these things that would come about. So you're like, wow, this is different. This is amazing. How can people not feel like this? And I know I've felt the same in the past where I've been healing from something too.
Yeah. So it's crazy because now I think about, my mind, I feel like my whole brain detoxed. It was like all these negative thoughts were completely gone.
Yeah.
Where there was a purpose of life. Life is actually beautiful. And I would sit outside and I'd be like, wow, life is incredible. How could I be thinking the opposite? How could I, ever think about that? But that's our reality. That's, the thing that nobody talks about. It's the accumulation of negative thoughts that in people's brains. And we carry that without speaking about it. And that's another thing that I wanted to talk about. There is, after, I started to feel better, I started to speak up about Crohn's and started to speak up about my depression and all of that. And to my surprise, I started to realize that the majority of people were going through similar symptoms.
Yeah.
So it's very, very common for people to have gut issues. Very common. And do you know the number one reason why people miss work?
No.
Is because of gut issues.
Huh. Bloating and feeling crap. Literally.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so, I started, after I started to speak to people about this, I wanted to spread the word because you shouldn't have shame of, you should speak up. I think if I would, talk to people sooner, with about what was wrong with me, I could have fixed it earlier. But you shouldn't feel shame about anything. To speak up, and believe me, people are always willing to help.
It's the humanity behind it all, and I think people really, so many things. My big belief is just speak, because I think so many things are unspoken. Anything, sex, sexuality, and obviously in my clinic I talk about poo and wee and all that stuff, stools and urine. It's something that I find just normality of every day, but realizing that people are hiding behind this and feeling ashamed and feeling stressed and manifesting these really toxic emotions and holding on to those in areas where it's going to cause disease. It's huge. Yeah.
And then we're also hoping, and I remember thinking the same, it's like, oh, it's going to go away. It's going to go away.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. If you continue with the same life, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's just going to get worse. And so, and so that's, and that's one of the ways I healed my postpartum depression, just speaking up about it. And talking to other moms and talking to people and relating. Postpartum really, it's another taboo subject because nobody really wants to talk about that. No. And postpartum it's very different from normal depression, because postpartum depression is it's the inability to bond with your child.
Yeah, it's huge.
And telling that to people is like, oh, I can't bond with my kid, or I see my kid as a stranger. It's basically, no, people don't understand that. People don't understand why you can't bond. So that was another shameful part about, what was wrong with me that I didn't want to talk about. And so, but after I started to open up, I started to and realize that, wow, like there's a lot of people that are going through that right now. And you know, I remember people coming to my house and meeting my son for the first time, and you know, typical, like, I'll bring you presents, let me hold your son, oh my God, how beautiful, he has your same nose, he has your smile. And then I would look at people and I'd be like, and I remember thinking like, but he's just a stranger to me. I see him as a stranger. It's someone that I'm supposed to take care of, but it's just a stranger to me. So yeah, and it's really sad. And I mean, there's ways to get out of there. And you know, a lot of, you know, if you go to the doctor and you tell them that you have postpartum depression, they're gonna probably put you in antidepressants.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's their fix, antidepressants. Absolutely. But it's not the same. And what I found is, you know, through my research, is that there's a big, huge link when it comes to the levels of oxytocin, because oxytocin is the bonding hormone, the love hormone. And especially as a new mother, you need to be secreting this hormone more so than ever.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the things that we're doing, especially in the hospital settings, it stops us from secreting oxytocin. So you go to this hospital, you have your baby, and basically you are sleep deprived because you have nurses walking in every 5 minutes. They don't respect your sleep. They have the lights on, fluorescent lights, blue light, that kill your melatonin. So therefore you have no sleep. And if there's no melatonin, there's not going to be oxytocin. So when there's low levels of melatonin, then you're going to have low levels of oxytocin.
Yeah.
And then you have, what else do you have? You're stressed out.
Yeah, it's all new. All the drugs that they give you.
And you know, let's talk about all the drugs that they give you at the hospital. They give you antibiotics. They give your child antibiotics.
Yeah.
Here in the US, I don't know what happens over there, but you know, people don't know that the little drops that they put in the baby's eyes, the lubricant that they put in the baby's eyes, that's an antibiotic.
Yeah, there's a lot going on that we don't know, and I'm passionate about this, having had 2 of my very own different births, making that awareness well known, and not just the postpartum, but the aspect of the whole lead up into during pregnancy as well as birth is super important.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's so important. And you know, oxytocin is produced in the hypothalamus, and it's that part of the brain, and it's released by the pituitary gland. And so if you have, you know, one of the things that could damage the you know, the making of oxytocin is fluoride. And because it's released by the pituitary gland, so fluoride really messes with your pituitary gland. So that's one thing. So that's why I'm so passionate about water. It's like, what's in your water? I know here in the US, they put so much fluoride in the water, not to mention the toothpaste and everything that we ingest so much fluoride. And then you have lack of sleep. It also affects your hypothalamus. And then we have, I mean, the reality is that we're not taking enough vitamin C. And I mean vitamin C not through a bottle of ascorbic acid. It's not the same as vitamin C from a fruit. But now you have the people that are so scared of sugar, and I'm so scared of you know, I had a lot of customers that tell me, well, I can't put any fruit because it's sugar in my smoothies. It's like, but you don't understand. You have the polyphenols, you got the antioxidants, you got the fiber. Like,
there's so much more to it.
Fiber. Only 5% of Americans get the right amounts of fiber. Like, what happens to the 95%? We have this fiber gap.
And it catches all our toxins. Like, how do we get those toxins out? That's one of the ways.
And yeah, and people don't know that fiber is basically the Uber. It Ubers the probiotics into the colon, and it's also the Uber for antioxidants, because a lot of the antioxidants get destroyed in the gut by your by your hydrochloric acid. But if there's fiber present, those antioxidants will bind into the fiber, and then they will make it into the colon. Absolutely. So there's so many things that that we're depleted on, and let's talk about. So that's vitamin C, and magnesium. That's another one that helps with oxytocin. We are basically, the entire world is depleted in magnesium because our soils are depleted.
Absolutely,
right?
everywhere.
So it's so important, and that you could stop postpartum depression if you take care of your oxytocin, and you can take care of those things. You get enough vitamin C, you have enough magnesium, you have I have a whole list of that, but there's also Lactobacillus reuteri, which is a strain that it's also, especially if you got antibiotics in the hospital, like this is the strain that you need to make oxytocin.
Absolutely. And did you know that Lactobacillus reuteri comes from, they've derived it from human breast milk? That is not around in human breast milk any longer.
There you go.
There you go. On magnesium, I think that's super important. And do you know what I did before my second birth, which was a home birth? I went and floated in some of these float labs that we have here regularly in my pregnancy, not just because it felt good, but also because it was really high in magnesium sulfate that was absorbed quite easily by the body. And I recommend so many women. And the funny thing is, I went in and I was one day before my due date. And I walked into the float place, and they're like looking at me going, "Oh, you look like you're about to burst." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." They're like, "Do you want to have a float?" I'm like, "Yeah. Could I have a float, please?" They're like, "As long as your waters don't break in the water, like please don't." You can tell, like, you can't really tell that stuff. So they're like, "Okay." So then I had my float. It felt amazing. Got home that night, making dinner, and I looked down and I'm like, "Hang on a second, why is this wee going for too long? This is crazy. Like, what's going on?" So my waters had broken almost immediately since I'd gotten home, because I was super relaxed. I was so, just in my own element, and I was, zoned out because of the whole float as well. And then next day, a couple of hours labor, and in the water out comes my little girl. So, there's a lot to say for looking after your body, as well as those magnesium levels, I think, just for so many aspects of muscle relaxation to the oxytocin aspect, super important. And then don't forget things like placenta. I don't know what you think about that, but women, and it's a bit anecdotal, I myself, I kept both of my placentas. I know this is probably way too much information for most listeners, but I'm not really bothered by that. My midwife, in our kitchen, cut it up for me, and had little bits in my super smoothies every day.
Oh no, that's the way to go. And if you here in the US, if you don't want your placenta, they'll sell it.
They encapsulate them. It's crazy.
Yeah, they'll sell it for you. It's like, oh, you don't want it? Cool. We're not going to throw it out. We'll sell that.
And it's rich in the nutrients, and I think that's a lot to say for postpartum and nutrient reabsorption for women, and that's why they've done that for thousands of years, and that's why the animal kingdom in general does that, eating their placentas after they've given birth.
Oh yeah. 100%. I mean, and after giving birth, your stress levels are way up. So the more stress that you have, you need more, you're going to need more magnesium, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's one of those things where that I mean, I wish they had that in the hospital, those floating tanks for women.
Yeah. How good would that be? Or even, yeah, absolutely. Go in there, then come out and have your baby.
Oh yeah. But you see, the whole hospital setting is just kills. It's just a killer for oxytocin.
Oh.
And so,
and fear.
Also, and oxytocin is also directly involved in the milk ejection reflex. So when you're giving your child, when you put your child on your breast, you're releasing oxytocin.
Oh, absolutely.
But, you know, when I had my son, it's one of those things where they had me on antibiotics and they had me on pain medication and they put him in the intensive care. The reason why is because I had a high fever, and so he came out with a fever, and the fever was from pushing for like 9 hours straight.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so they got paranoid, and I remember I was not able to move, my muscles paralyzed, and I remember the nurse walking into the room and said, "Hey, I need you to sign this." And I looked at her and I said, I can't sign this. I don't even know what I'm signing. I need you to sign this because we're gonna have to put your son in the intensive care because he has a fever, just in case he could have this, that. She gave me a whole like list of the things that he could have. But it's just the hospital doesn't want to get sued, right?
Absolutely. They're covering themselves every minute.
Oh yeah. So I remember I was seeing double. And I remember like she grabbed my hand, put it on that line where you sign, and she goes, "Just make an X." And like she moved the paper so I could make that X. I will never forget that. So they took my son into the intensive care, and he was there for about 10 days. He just injecting him with antibiotics in basically all day with the syringes. And it's one of those things where like, you know, like I'd wake up and then I would be on my way to the intensive care to feed my son. "Oh, no, don't worry. We already fed him." "Well, what'd you give him?" We give him formula. We have really good formula here. So it's like, you know, by the time I took my son home, there's no way he didn't want to take my breast. So they started giving him formula before they even asked. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my goodness. And it probably would have been on the form that you signed that you didn't know or couldn't read and had no idea.
No, to this day I have no idea what I signed.
Oh my goodness. And that, you know, that in itself set you up to, you know, the circumstances surrounding all of that. That, you know, initially that the healing and the emotionality that comes from having a baby. And I think a lot of women don't realize this, and I try and relay this to as many women as I can, is that the growth that happens when we're pregnant and actually deciding or having a baby, and then the birthing process is we're rebirthing ourselves. And if we're not supported the way that we should be through that process, then it's really hard to come back out the other side without that lift up of, you know, whoever's around us. And in those circumstances and most hospital circumstances, women are just thrown out and there you go, you know, good luck. And, you know, where's my community? Where's my support network? There's so many things that we don't have available to us that we used to, you know, in tribes and things like that, ancestrally.
Exactly. And then that's what I tell people all the time. We're not meant to have, you know, just be, you know, just a couple having a kid. You're meant to have a tribe where you're tired, you pass on, you know, the child to somebody else that is also breastfeeding, and they breastfeed your child, and we're not meant to be doing this.
No, not on our own. Absolutely not.
I remember and you could probably relate, but I remember being sleep deprived so much that I remember I was holding my son, and I hadn't slept for days, and I remember walking around the kitchen just trying to make him go to sleep, and I remember falling asleep while I was holding my son, and I landed on the floor, and I'm like, what is happening? It's dangerous.
So dangerous. And, you know, as you know, sleep deprivation can be, you know, it leads to very quick death because of the fact that it is so important to have sleep. And, you know, myself, 8.5 years on, still I'm quite sleep deprived too. I'd have my sleep hasn't returned to 100% normal. No way, you know, still waking up for the little ones. So women, you know, we have to deal with all this sort of stuff, plus also have lack of nutrients for not knowing how to care for ourselves or not being able to also care for ourselves in those times. Because how can you've fallen asleep standing up, how can you go and make something good for yourself to eat? You don't want to.
No, you don't want to. You just reach for what's just easy. Just open up a package of crackers.
Absolutely.
That's so funny because that's exactly what the hospital was giving me. I remember the nurse, it's like, "Oh, honey, you need to eat. Here, I'll give you some salty crackers with peanut butter, and then just eat that so you can make more milk." And it's like, I think about that now, and it's like, we're so sick, and we're eating all this food that is not nutrient dense, and it's full of preservatives, and it's killing our gut bacteria, and then that food is made to make the milk that we give to our children.
It's crazy, isn't it? And we do go through a small detox, after we give birth as well. So whatever we're holding in our body, some of that, comes out in the milk as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And all that, like I know you think the same as me on glyphosate, like holy moly. And we have the same issue in Australia. Like Europe now is thinking about it, and I think some areas are banned, but America and Australia, they're just not catching up. And it's almost too late. The ground is already covered with it for years and years now, and our bodies are covered in it, unfortunately.
Oh, I mean, don't get me started about glyphosate.
There's so many things that we could get started on, isn't there?
Glyphosate is, and that's a good way to go, because glyphosate is another killer for oxytocin.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I hear so many people complaining about having a mask on their face, but no one's complaining about having glyphosate in their food. Like, as angry as you are for wearing a mask, why aren't you angry that there's glyphosate? There's pesticides in your food. And for those of you that don't know or not familiar with glyphosate, it's basically the main ingredient to Roundup. The gly for glyphosate stands for glycine, which is an amino acid that is prevalent in collagen. And collagen is the main protein in the connective tissues of your skin. And so it's also so you have glyphosate, and it has that glycine is attached to a methylphosphonol group, which is a precursor for chemical weapons. That's what glycine is. So your body sees that's what glyphosate is. So your body sees this toxin as glycine, so it starts attaching it to everywhere glycine would go. And it takes years and years and years to leave your body, because it becomes part of your matrix. It becomes part of your skin. It becomes part of your muscles. And it really affects your liver, because it just kills a lot of the enzymes that you need to. One of the enzymes, it's a what is it called?
Cytochrome?
Cytochrome P54.
Yeah.
P450.
Yeah.
And this is, a lot of people, that's why a lot of people that get their vitamin D levels checked, everyone comes low in vitamin D. Why? Because this enzyme is the one that your liver makes the vitamin D active from the sun.
Yeah.
So if this enzyme is destroyed by glyphosate, you're going to have very low levels of vitamin D, because you're not going to be able to properly activate it.
That's nuts. It's crazy. Here in Australia, we've got a huge amount of sun, as you're aware. We have, again, the same thing. We have huge amounts of deficiencies. Just recently, the doctors have said, well, the labs, we're not actually testing vitamin D anymore. So I've been requesting my clients tests. No, we're not going to do it anymore because everyone's deficient. Are you kidding me? Have you guys even thought about the fact of why we're deficient? We have sun. It's cholesterol, obviously. There's glyphosate. There's, proper absorption of it, because we don't, with the inflammation levels in the liver. Iron's the same with women. It's so prevalent. Every woman that comes in here is vitamin D and iron deficient. It's crazy.
No, it's insane. And, glyphosate started as it was a chelator. So around the 1960s, glyphosate was used to remove all the mineral deposits from showers or from boilers. And so you would put glyphosate, and it would basically attaches to the minerals, and that's it. That's what people would get rid of, the mineral deposits.
Yeah.
So, and then around the 1970s is when this guy from Monsanto discovered that this was a great way to kill weeds. to because it binds their minerals, and it basically it's a good way to kill the weeds. And so what happens when you ingest glyphosate in your body? We're already mineral deficient, we're already magnesium deficient, and now you're adding these toxins that you're having for breakfast, you're having for lunch, you're having for dinner, and you're having it for snacks. It's everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. It's everywhere. It's in the air. It's in your water from agricultural runoff.
Mm-hmm.
It's
our
everywhere.
Parks, they have, we walk down to the park, going to go play with the kids, take the dog for a run, signs up, spraying glyphosate, like, stay away. I'm like, great, yeah. It's in the air. Thanks. We're going to go touch it later. It's everywhere. They spray our front verges with it. And
yeah,
there's been some midwives that I've been speaking to, and the spray rate from when conception was in certain areas, they've seen an increase in birth defects. Like,
oh yeah,
it's nuts.
I mean, it's and because it's a chelator. I mean, it descales your bones. So there you go. You have osteoporosis. You got cavities. We blame it on not having enough fluoride, but it's glyphosate that because it's taking your bone.
And vitamin D deficiency because of the glyphosate in your liver.
And so it's like, do you guys add fluoride in your water?
We do. We're exactly the same. And I wanted to get to this as well, which is a good lead on, is that water here. Like I'm always, and I say to my students, I'm like, if you guys are drinking tap water, like get out, out, because I'm so passionate about that. And if you don't have a reverse osmosis or even a distiller, like you there's no point. Like we're just going to be reclogging the filters in your body. There's just no point, because we have so much agricultural runoff, pharmaceutical runoff, bacteria is not just microorganisms, but the fact that fluoride and chloride, oh my goodness.
It's so I cannot tell this to people, and this is, to me, this is health 101.
Oh, absolutely.
If the supplements, like if you haven't taken care of your water, don't waste money on supplements, and don't waste money on expensive, infrared saunas or expensive other stuff, because you just continue to clog up the system. And the analogy to me is this: it's kind of like you have a pig that is rolling around the mud, and you're trying to hose it and you grab a little sponge and trying to clean it, but the pig keeps rolling around the mud. There's not much you could do if you keep rolling around the mud.
Oh, I love that analogy. It's so good.
Rolling around the mud so you could get cleaned up. That's it.
I've got the cutest little pig in my mind. It's so cute.
Yeah. I mean, just see this pig on its belly, and you're cleaning the belly, and you have a hose, but the mud's still there. You're still running around. So, water is so important. And I don't know, there's this website that you could check. It's called ewg.org.
Yeah, and I think it may only be the US.
Yeah.
I think.
You have listeners from the US?
Sorry?
Do you have listeners in the US?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I think US, I think you can check some of the water.
Yeah. So if you're in the US, go to ewg.org, type in your zip code, and it basically tells you all the stuff that is in your water. And we all think that our water is cleaned because, it's magically becomes this see-through substance that we see as water. But yeah, I mean, to go from sewer water, because our water comes from the sewer. Whatever you pee out in the toilet, that's going to come back to you in tap water, and then they're going to charge you money for it. That's your pee water. Right?
People would just, it's out of sight, out of mind for everything, isn't it?
But try to do that at home. I dare you to grab a bucket of pee and try to make it into a clean, just try to turn that into clean water. You're going to need a lot of harsh chemicals to do that. A lot. And it doesn't get cleaned up. I think a few years ago, they did a test in major cities here in the US. And Philadelphia was tested for 50 different types of pharmaceuticals in the water. It was tested for, it had traces of steroids, It has traces of antidepressants. It has traces for basically everything that people are taking and peeing it out in the water. So that doesn't get cleaned out in the filtration system that the city has. You are consuming that every day. You're cooking, you're showering with it, and that's the water that you are drinking. And not only that, but you know, we're a lot of the infrastructure here, pipes that are here come from the Lincoln era. So you got a lot of, you know, even though lead pipes were banned by the Congress decades ago, we still have lead pipes because it's impossible to change the piping infrastructure.
Yeah.
And you also have cast iron pipes from the Lincoln era that are super rusted and just broken. And so then you get, you know, agriculture runoff that seeps through those broken pipes. And then you have high levels of heavy metals. And to add insult into the matter, they add the fluoride, and they add, you know, all kinds of, they add chloride that basically destroys your gut bacteria and also destroys vitamin E. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
No excuse. No excuse now, you know.
There's absolutely no excuse. And no, you know, and you can't just go to the store and grab bottles of bottled water that comes in plastic, because that's just tap water. Even though it says artisanal or it says, you know, spring water, you know, it doesn't have to be 100% spring water. It could be 5% spring water, and then the rest of it is tap water. And then not to mention the nanoplastics that you're accumulating in your liver, right? That is an issue that is we see in the oceans. Just nanoplastics that lower your immune system, plastics that have phthalates that are endocrine disruptors. We're getting bombarded everywhere, and you know, invest in a really good reverse osmosis system. They could be a little bit expensive in the beginning, but believe me, this will make a huge difference in your health. There's also shower filters that you could get, because you don't want to shower with chlorine and fluoride. And also, hey, ladies, like, if you don't want your hair dye to turn red, you know, or your blonde hair to turn green, like, just get yourself a good shower system that stops your hair from turning different colors.
Because of the chemicals they add in.
What is happening to your organs when if you see that happening to your hair, what's going to happen in your organs?
Yeah, there's only so much, you know, toxin exposure we can handle before we overflow, and that's the skin conditions, the chronic diseases that come about, the, you know, just even brain fog and tiredness. It's all that overload of toxins that our body is just too full. You know, our cup's gone and it's just overflowing, and our body can't deal with that anymore. It's you know, and we need to be reducing those as much as we can in all aspects.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you could save yourself from getting kidney stones. Because you're depositing rocks into your body from this water.
Oh, absolutely. So what do you do for water every day? And I hear that you have a little bit of a concoction that you make up. So give me a bit of insight into that. So minerals are important.
And I speak so much about magnesium, because magnesium is the conductor through to your, I mean, they say that there's 300 enzymes. There's more, there's at least 300. So, but it's the conductor to all the enzymes. And it's basically, you know, wherever calcium is, magnesium needs to be there. And if you have an overflow of calcium, it's going to deplete your magnesium. And you get your, I mean, there's a whole, if you go on my blog, I wrote a whole thing about water and minerals. But one of the things that I do is after my water goes through reverse osmosis, I take a tablespoon of magnesium hydroxide and into a soda maker. So you grab yourself a cheap soda maker from, you could get it on eBay, Amazon, whatever you get it from. And and get yourself a bag of magnesium hydroxide. If you buy those two, it's going to be about a $60 investment, but it's going to last you for a couple of years. So what you do is you put carbon dioxide, you infuse the water with carbon dioxide, and you add a teaspoon of magnesium hydroxide. That turns, the combination of magnesium hydroxide turns and carbon dioxide turns into magnesium bicarbonate. And magnesium bicarbonate, it only exists in water. Thousands of years ago, magnesium bicarbonate was abundant in water. That's where we got most of our minerals from, by the way. That's where we got the majority of our minerals from, of our magnesium, was water. We no longer have that, right? And most people expect to get it from their vegetables. We don't it's because it's not longer in water. It's not longer in the soil. And so
it's fascinating. I've never heard anyone doing this before, so I'm intrigued. You've got me.
So you have to wait, and I'll send you, I don't know if you could put it on the notes, I have a video that I made about it. It's very simple, but it's such a, how do I say it? If you have acid reflux or problems digesting, you need bicarbonate, right? You need it for you need it for your pancreas, you need it for your kidneys, you need it for your liver. And so, believe me, don't take anti-acid pills. Like, just take magnesium bicarbonate if you have acid reflux, because that's, you need, and to make bile, to break down all the fats and everything that you're eating, you need it as well, because that's the body's soap, the bile, right? The body makes bile to clean up the fats and clean up everything else. And so, like, help it. Like, it's kind of like hiring a housekeeper, and then the housekeeper has no cleaning supplies, no mop, no broom, and then you just expect the housekeeper to clean your house, and then you come home and you're like, why haven't you cleaned my floors and my bathroom? And then she's just gonna look at you like, well, there's no cleaning supplies.
Yeah. So true.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I do is, so you're gonna have a concentrate. So after you grab the bottle of, just follow the instructions on your soda maker, and then add 1 tablespoon to that. You make it into a carbonation. Leave it in the fridge for about 24 hours. The water needs to be chilled. It needs to be chilled to be able to bind into with the minerals need to bind to the carbon dioxide. So it needs to be cold. Leave it in the fridge for about 24 hours until you get sediment. So you get all the minerals that at the bottom of your glass. Can you see it here? No, not in this one.
Yeah.
So that is going to be your concentrate. So now you grab a glass of your reverse osmosis water, just clean reverse osmosis water, and you're going to start with adding 2 teaspoons of your concentrate. And then that's what you're going to be drinking throughout the day. Don't start with half a cup, because it's going to give you a stomach ache.
Yeah.
And it's going to send you to the bathroom, because a lot of magnesium in your body could give you a little bit of the runs. So
it's such a cheap supplement. Like, how fantastic is that? It's amazing. You just get your magnesium in your water. Yeah,
and
so
that's
cool.
it. And
I love it.
And it's going to give you so much energy, and it's going to keep you calm, because, like I said earlier, the more stressed out you are, the more magnesium you need. Absolutely. And if you have enough magnesium, your cortisol levels are not going to be so crazy.
Wow. So do you put anything else in there as well, or is that just it? And then that's the water you drink in the day?
I have 2 different recipes. If you don't, let's say if you have a diet that is solid on calcium. So if you eat your calcium, I'm always going to talk about, I don't supplement. The only, I always think about, when I say like take enough calcium, I mean it in food. Yeah. So I'm not, I know a lot of people don't, see milk and cheese as like, oh my God, that's not healthy. But believe me, it's all about the quality, not the quality of the food. And I'm a huge believer in anything that is grass fed. And especially with milk, because you have all your fat soluble vitamins that that we don't get from anything else. Where do you get your fat soluble vitamins? And I'm talking about retinol, vitamin A, I'm talking about vitamin E, I'm talking about vitamin D, vitamin E. Where do you get your fat soluble vitamins? And if you're drinking milk that comes from pasteurized farms and comes from conventional corn-fed cows, that please just throw it down the toilet, because that is just junk. That's going to make you sick.
Absolutely.
So
and that's the quality for everything, isn't it? Like the organic food, the grass-fed dairies, the grass-fed meats, everything. Yeah. And fresh fish that's smaller, that has no accumulation of the heavy metals. It's quality of everything that we're bringing in, quality of thoughts, emotions, everything.
Exactly. I don't know what the laws in Australia are with raw milk. I know that there's certain parts in the States where it's banned and it's illegal. Fortunately, here in California, we could get raw milk, but it's like, once it goes through the pasteurization process, you start to kill a lot of the vitamins, and you kill a lot of the beneficial bacteria. You also, kill a lot of the proteins, a lot of the immunoglobulins that are going to help you with your immunity. Right now with COVID, you need a lot of immunoglobulins, because those are the ones that are what do you call it? The first step is the welcome mat for the viruses. So if you don't have your welcome mat, like, they're gonna come in, right? Or yeah. I don't know if that's an analogy. But it's like, you need the immunoglobulins, and once it goes through pasteurization, all of that is gone. And so
the raw milk, we can get it as dog wash.
What?
As in, like, they sell it as dog wash milk. So that's how in the health food store, you'll go into the section and there'll be some dog wash milk or dog bath milk, they call it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that, you can buy it, but it's labeled as an animal only product.
It's probably not grass fed. It's probably corn fed, huh?
Probably. I've not bought it here. Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, you could get yourself your hands on some raw cheese. That's really good. It has also all the that's the fat soluble vitamins, raw grass fed. If you get grass fed raw cheese, that you're set. You can also get some colostrum. There's a lot of companies that sell it as powder. And you get some grass fed colostrum, so you get some really good immunoglobulins there, and then you get some good stuff in there as well.
And that a lot, yeah.
Fun fact: the people that are lactose intolerant, right, do really well with raw milk. The reason why is because once you pasteurize the milk, you kill the lactase, which is the enzyme that breaks down lactose.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Raw milk has lactase.
So I interrupted you. So with the higher amounts of calcium, you're saying that sometimes you need something else in water.
Sorry, I went on a rant.
No, it was my fault.
Yeah, so if you're not getting enough calcium through your diet, then I would say I have another recipe for this, and I add a pinch of calcium carbonate. And I also add potassium in there, a little pinch of it, and I add sodium bicarbonate as well. So sodium bicarbonate is the Uber driver for the magnesium to go inside of the cells. So you need that. So I usually add it regardless into my water as well. But I have the recipes. It's not hard to make. It just seems very intimidating because you look like you are a crazy scientist in the kitchen.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great thing. But it looks very intimidating, but it's fun to make. I promise you. And the water that you make, the concentrate, is going to last you for about a month. And then as your body gets used to it, and you can start increasing the dosage. I usually have about like this much of water, and I add about 1/4 of a cup, maybe half a cup sometimes, depending on my stress levels.
Okay. Yeah, so you can then dose accordingly to how you're feeling in the days, weeks. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend taking magnesium as a supplement because it now you're messing with organic and inorganic minerals, and a lot of us can't absorb that. The reabsorption of magnesium in pills, it's very, very minimal.
Oh, absolutely. And especially when you have something like Crohn's or,
Yeah.
inflammatory bowel conditions or anything, celiacs, it's something that you have such lowered absorption of nutrients that you need to make it easy digestible. Otherwise, it's not getting in and you're wasting your money with the supplements. I totally agree.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So it's better to have it in water form, and I mean, I add it into my smoothies. I add it into whatever. If I'm gonna cook, I use it. I use it for everything. And you
Mm,
have really clean water that is alive, that is no longer dead, like
yeah,
tap.
absolutely. With all those nasties included in it. Wow.
Oh yeah.
I love that. It's such a fantastic takeaway. I'm going to go and start finding myself a soda machine and go and start making my own. I'll have to feed back to you and see how I go.
Yeah. It's very simple, and then also it's really good for sleep. So because magnesium is known, to help people sleep, and so because one of the reasons why is because it reduces stress, and the reason why most people can't sleep or wake up in the middle of the night is because of stress. That's one of the main reasons we're chronically stressed. We go to bed with stress, and so adrenaline keeps us up at night. Cortisol and adrenaline, because they're supposed to be there for energy, right? If anything, it's your fight or flight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, Ingrid, I wanted to ask you about, before we run out of time, your routine during your day now, and may it be saunas or anything crazy that you do. What are your favorite things to do for your health now, that you really love?
Okay, so the first thing that I do in the morning, I have to have a smoothie. That's my routine. I have a smoothie in the mornings. That keeps me full for about 4 to 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
If it's too cold, I'll have a bowl of a grass-fed bone broth. By
Yeah.
the way, that's a really good way to get minerals. By the way, the bone,
And the
really good
collagen, yeah.
collagen. Basically, I mean, everything's so good in there. You get the gelatin, um, and yeah. So I take bone broth and in the mornings, but mainly smoothies. And then I have to have at least 10-15 minutes in the sun. And but I have to go naked because I want to make sure that I get in my whole body is covered with the love from the sun.
Absolutely. I'm all for naked sunbathing.
Yeah,
It's what we should be doing.
it's so important. And I go barefoot and I'm outside and connecting with the earth and the electromagnetic fields from the earth.
Mm.
And then let's see, I I have to go into my infrared sauna. So I don't know if you could see it, but I have an infrared sauna. That's from Clear Light.
Beautiful. Do you like the clear light? I've got a sun lighting at home, but I hear the clear light. I think it's a really old one though. And has that got the red light in there as well?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually one of their newest ones. It has a chakra lights too.
Wow,
So
that's so cool.
pretty cool. I really like it. I literally just got it because I was going into a place, a spa that had the infrared, and I had a membership there. But after COVID, everything closed, and I was like, I need my infrared. But I know that it's expensive, but all these things you could get for free with nature.
Yeah.
So the red light, you could get it from the sun. So when you see the sky red, especially sunrise and sunset, it's your chance to get some red light. And if you easily sunburn, that's because you are missing red light. So I used to sunburn, but after getting enough red light, it doesn't happen anymore. So
I agree.
yeah, and then I don't take supplements. That's pretty much it. My whole routine is just whole foods. I just eat for. So if I feel like I'm missing a certain nutrient, I'll find it in a whole food, and then I'll just take it like that. So if I know that I'm missing copper, I'll go and seek liver. Or if I'm missing choline, I'll have I have eggs.
Yeah, I love that.
I'll try to get everything from whole foods. And in their stress, there's days where I'm really stressed out. I'll take ashwagandha. But the thing about ashwagandha is that it's such an American thing to just get the root. You need the entire plant as well as the leaves to be able to, absorb it. And so there's a company, and I'll send you the link for it, but they have a whole plant, Omega Organics. Okay. So that's one of the only ones. And I talked to the owner and I said, why can't I find this? Why can't they just make it with the plants as well? It's like, well, it's because most people go for the root, but what they don't know is that they also need the leaves. And so because they don't know, it doesn't really sell because they don't know that.
Wow.
So, but that helps me. Like if I know that I'm stressed out, I'll take a couple before bedtime because I know that cortisol or adrenaline will wake me up at night.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many people that have that issue, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So is there anything, so your routine, smoothies obviously every day in the morning, and then sunlight and nature, saunas are something that's really regular for you, and then all the whole foods that you require and looking at what you're needing. That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah. And then look, I don't believe in diets. I'm not on a specific diet. I'm not on the keto diet. I'm not on, any of those diets. I just believe that and listen to this, if you eat very clean whole foods, and when I say clean, a lot of people don't like that word, but when I say clean, it's like grass-fed. Go for the best of the best.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have liver, go for pasture-raised grass-fed, liver. If you're gonna go for milk, go for the grass-fed milk. And so it's just about minimizing the toxins that go in, maximizing the nutrients that go in.
Yeah.
And believe me, like a lot of people are scared of sugar. But I'm such a big believer in antioxidants, especially right now, because we live in the environments that we live in. It's all pollution, and it's all, it creates free radicals in your body, and the stress that we have and everything else is just full of free radicals. And so your body is basically rusting.
It is.
Rusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need to help, the more stressed out you are, the more you're going to eat up your antioxidants. And the more toxins that you give your body, like heavy metals and glyphosate, the more you're going to deplete your antioxidants. So we're depleting our antioxidants pretty fast. And I tell people, vegetables are great, but we cook them. And we, by cooking them, we basically get rid of a lot of, the antioxidants that are in these vegetables. So please don't be scared of sugar, right? Yeah. Please have as a snack, because I have so much food during the day. Have a snack, whatever's in season, just buy a bowl of fruit. And if you have snacky or you feel hungry, grab a peach, grab a mango, there's no way, I have never heard of anyone becoming fat because they ate too much fruit. And I haven't, since I started my routine, I was, once I don't want to say that I was pretty big, but I lost about 30 pounds when I did the smoothies. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So after, I eat all this stuff that people are scared of. Like I eat milk. I eat, I don't cook with olive oil. I'll cook with butter.
Mm-hmm.
I'll cook,
yep.
So if you eat very, very clean and maximize the toxins, believe me, just think about inflammation and just how to keep inflammation down, because that's the gateway for chronic diseases. And that's a gateway for gaining weight, pretty much, inflammation. So just think about that. Just try to eat as much of anti-inflammatory foods as possible. And you don't have to worry about gaining weight, or you don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah, I love that way of thinking. I think it's definitely that simplification of it, I think, needs to be more in the forefront, rather than complicating everything with avoid that, take that, just balance as well as quality. And I think that that's just key. We don't have to make all of this too complicated. Absolutely not. So one more thing I wanted to ask you, Ingrid, is looking after your movement and your mind. What are the go-to things for you? You know, how do you love to move, and how do you love to look after your mind, your emotions, you know, your emotionality, should I say?
Oh, that's super important. I've never been asked that question, and I'm so happy that you asked that question. No, really, that's because that's important. Emotional, like taking care of your emotional health. It's that's a good question. So I often see it like this. If I'm stressed out, I always picture myself as a child. And I look at myself, like I picture a child that's me, that's about 8 years old. And I see that little child stressed out about whatever that child's stressed out about, or whatever I'm stressed out about. And then instead of like talking, you know, like, you're stupid, why did you do that? Oh my God, you need to get up and get to work, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? You got to sit down with that little child, and you got to talk to them and talk in a way that you would talk a child. And that's how I basically take care of my emotional health, by, you know, calming myself down and like talking to myself, you know, as if I were a child, like, okay, no, you don't have to worry about this. It's going to be okay. You know, very nurturing, because I know that most people go throughout the day, like, look, Jodi, if I called you stupid right now, you would be so angry at me. You probably, what did you just say? If I say like, you're so stupid, you're dumb. But why is it okay that we talk to ourselves like that? Why is that okay?
I know, and it's worse than that in most people's heads, right?
Exactly. So I always tell people, like, think about the things that people enjoy about you, that you like about yourself. It doesn't have to be physical. Like, it could be like, you know, oh, I like the way I make, you know, my son laugh. And then just start thinking positive, instead of like picking at yourself and looking at yourself in the mirror and like saying, you know, the negative, you know, like, oh, you're dumb, or you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. Just think positive, because that's what your cells will listen to you. They listen to you. And they manifest. The way you talk to yourself, they manifest.
Absolutely. It's a soothing, and then, you know, you could even bring it back to that oxytocin. You know, the more you're soothing tone with yourself, like you would with a child, like you say, or a baby, you know, it's okay, shh, shh, shh. You know, that sort of tone really soothes us as adults as well. We still have that big part of us in there. So yeah, it's really that calming and nurturing. I love that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And what about movement in that way as well? I know, like, movement we've got hydration, and, you know, there's so many things that go out of balance in terms of women and men with movement, you know, fitness and those sorts of things. What's your favorite go-to movement for you? What looks after you?
I love working out. So I usually set in the mornings, the first thing I do is I set aside an hour and I work out. And I do HIIT exercises, but depending how I feel, because I don't go crazy with them. I have my Aura ring.
Yeah.
So depending on how I slept, if I had really bad sleep, I wouldn't even push my body. Like, you need to know your limits, right?
Yeah.
And I know that if I'm going to have like stressful days at work, or something very stressful is going to happen, I will make sure that I don't add any more stress into my body, because I know that you know, working out on its own it's stress. You're adding free radicals into your body as well. So if you don't have a balance, if you have more free radicals coming into your body and you don't have the balance for that, then that could go wrong, right?
Absolutely.
As far as movement, I really, and we were just talking about this before starting the podcast, I have a stand-up desk.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to sitting down anymore. I'm standing up and I do all my work from a stand-up desk, and I move. Like, I'm not standing in front of the computer the whole time. Like, I'll take like 10-minute breaks. I'll walk around, and then, but I'm always, my body always has to be moving. And so I know, and I've been on the opposite side of the spectrum. I've been there where like I'm only sitting down and I feel like a slug, right? So
Totally relate.
I've been there. And so like, I know, you know, it takes practice, but you could do it. I mean, if you're used to sitting on the couch or working from home in your computer and you're sitting all day, like for a whole week, trust me, it's going to be a life changer. If you stand up and you don't have to buy a stand-up desk. You could make it out of boxes, put it on top of, you know, your kitchen counter or whatever. And it's going to make such a big difference in your energy levels. And you're also going to have clarity, because sitting down for long periods of time stop your oxygen from going into your brain.
And those subtle movements that you actually make when you're standing, it's moving you constantly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm moving and putting my feet up on the desk, you know, so it's right now one foot is up and like I'm balancing with one foot. So it's like there's certain things that you can do and just move it. You know, that's so funny that you said that. I was studying about how animals de-stress. And the reason why I started looking into that is because I was looking at my dogs. And every time my dogs get stressed out about something, there's two types of things that they do. If it's something stressful that happened, they could either, they yawn. They go, that's a way to like release stress, yawning. Yeah. But the big one that everyone sees is shake it. They shake it off. So go and scare your dog. This is an experiment. Go scare your dog. And then like I guarantee they will shake it off after. But we're us human, and all mammals do that, by the way, all the mammals. So like if you see videos of like antelopes getting chased by, I don't know, a lion, and then like if they get saved, they'll shake it off.
Yeah, that's releasing that adrenaline, isn't it?
We're the only ones that don't do that. We're like taught to keep it in.
Yeah.
And so it's like shake it off. Like if there's something stressful, like go shake it out. Do some jumping jacks, but like do as your dog. Dogs are like the most beautiful teachers because they live in the moment. That's where we want to be. We don't want to be in the past. We don't want to be, you know, in the future. We want to be in the moment now. And that's where they are.
I love that. Now you've brought it to my attention. That's what our dog does. Yeah, it's so cool. I love it. I love that. Your wisdom and inspiration and knowledge, Ingrid, is just amazing. So I've been so lucky and blessed to be able to have you on here and have a chat. So I really thank you so much for giving up your time for me.
Thank you. I think you have a blush. Thank you so much.
It was so good to have you on. So thank you. And you know, I got a lot of the questions covered, but I do have still lots more for you. So it would be good to have a catch up and see how you've been going and see how all the smoothies are. And you know, I would love to get them started here as well. So we'll definitely keep in touch in the future.
Yeah, keep in touch. And then for your listeners, I wanted to give 20% off for the smoothies. So it's I think it was Revital Health 20 that we made. So,
amazing. I think I've got it down here. And if you wanted to send through the link for your water recipe video, I'll add that in there as well. Yeah, that would be amazing. I'm sure I'll get lots of questions on that one. So thank you so much again. And I look forward to catching up again in the future soon.
Bye.
Bye.